What's going on, everybody? This is Train Lover 123, hashtag Trains Rock, doing a video for Good Michael 5, and driving the train today. The train of today's video will be the Class 456. Now, of course, we were originally going to do the Class 175, but the Class 175 has apparently has its own problems where it just doesn't like my laptop. So I decided to stick to the 456. I've never actually driven this train in a long time. Normally, I kind of forgot this existed. But hopefully, I will learn however, whatever you call it, whatever it is for this. But let's get on with this. So a little bit of a backstory. The British Rail Class 456 was an electric multiple unit passenger train introduced by Network South East on inter-suburban services in South London to replace the elderly Class 416 2 EPB units. 24 two-car units were built by British Rail Engineering Limited's York Carriage Works in 1990 and 1991. The thing about this train in particular is this is the second version of the Class 456. There is a model before this. This was the remodeled or redesigned model of the Class 456, which is the one that a lot of people are very familiarized with. And with that out of the way, let's get this going.
The train now approaching platform 4 is a GCR mainline service. The train now approaching platform 5 is a GCR mainline service. The train now approaching platform 1 is a GCR mainline service. gap between the train and the platform. The train now approaching the platform is a GCR mainline service. Please stand back behind the yellow line.
Well, if you're still watching to this point, welcome. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. I did intend to stop at Devi South, but because the station is so small, I kind of didn't really get a chance to stop the train in time. The Class 456 has its own little flaws here and there, apparently. Like, this thing is very weirdly designed when it comes to the, like, brakes. The thing is, like, this the Ivat Atlantic C1, the steam engine, the four car set in this game has ridiculous acceleration and braking, so it's kind of like one of my favorite trains to use because when you hit the brakes, it slows down immediately. It's kind of sophisticated that way. But yeah. So what we're gonna be doing now is we're gonna essentially be taking this um to Ellistor Central, meaning that we're gonna be turning around at Landfield East and going back to Gothland again. So with that out of the way, let's keep the video going. And if you guys haven't already, and normally I don't like shameless plugging, but if you guys could subscribe to Good Michael Five's channel, he would be grateful about that. He's doing his best to reach 100 subscribers, and if he does reach the number, you never know. We might make a special GCR video. You never know. So hit that subscribe button, and yeah. Put that out of the way, let's get this back on track. No pun intended. Maybe.
The train now approaching platform 2 is a GCR mainline service. The train now approaching platform 1 is a GCR mainline service.
Well, guys, this has been the Class 456 video, and as you can see, we are now at the lovely Ellistor Central Station. My train's going to despawn because there's nowhere else. Pretty much once you come here, yeah, this is pretty much a final terminating spot. Anyways, so with that out of the way, this has been the Class 456 video, and, but while we're here, I might as well give you guys a little tour, because We did one of these, but I didn't have my voice. So first, we'll start over here, and we're not going to go in the trains because they're very tricky. I mean, you can walk in them, but the platform kind of thing is so tricky that if you make a mistake, you'll, you know, lose all progress. First up here is the GCR. Huh? Yeah, you'll. Yeah, what he said. Yeah, what he said. Yeah. So what we have here first is the class 143 Pacer, which is currently is was one of the early trains from like GCR 2017, 2018. This train is the and this train was succeeded or was preceded by the class 142 Pacer, which is currently in the main game, which became the successor of the 143, which now this train sits here as a sort of a on display for players who have nostalgia. And so yeah, interestingly enough, according to a video of this thing, the door sound is actually reused from the class 143 for the 142 Pacer in the main game, which is pretty neat. Anyway, moving on to the next train here. Now, of course, all these signs say, "Welcome to Ellister Central. There are currently no trains doing this platform." The reason why this station is considered not real is it's technically secret. People say this station is the least forgotten, like least used and forgotten. But the thing is, this station was never meant to be used ever. This station was built as a sort of, Easter egg. You go, you come and find it, and you kind of make an accomplishment. Because if you've ever noticed a sign at Gothland that says you are exactly 43,000 studs away from Ellister Central, now to the unknowing eye or to the unknowing person, they would be like, "What is that?" But the first thing that comes to their mind would be Ellistor Primordial, which is the big station that is before the station. The reason why it's accessible here is because this is a legacy edition that was generously given to the Hestercombe Workshop by the Monster RB. And the extension to Ellister Central was made public. Now you could go to Ellister Parkway, the station before this station, but you couldn't go any further as it would force you to make to loop around and go back to Ellister Primordial. So, but this is generously brought here, and moving on to the next train here. This train here on the left is the class 170, 171, and 172. This train, as it's called, the Turbo Star, this train was the first, I believe, to have the name, the GCR mainline on its front. But if you look at this, if you compare it to me, to my avatar, it is ridiculously huge. It's the weird scaling. It was weird way of scaling for the trains at the time. So, but yeah, this is the biggest one by far. Now, the next one here, which we are not going to interact with, is the class 507, or actually, this is the class 508. On the opposite side is the class 507. Now, if you may recognize these, that's because the class 507 and the 508 recently did return in GCR 2019, or the main game, as it's being called, as we're calling it, and they have definitely gotten upgraded models. Now, sadly, for some reason, and I'm not going to attempt this, you can't even go inside this one. This one does not have any way of going inside, unlike the 172 and the 143. And now on to the last train that's in this station, and then we'll take a quick rundown to those buildings in the distance where we will end our video at. The last train, which is actually not on this platform, this is the class 03, which is its name is the Milky Way. This is a class 03 shunter, and you can see some freight carriages, some freight cars on the back, or some trucks on the back, which was what it probably would have carried. Yep, a goods van, a truck, a goods wagon, and a tanker car, and a tank car, and a brake van. Yep, the tank car. or any something. Now, here's something that you guys can read. If you would like to pause it, you can pause it, but I will read it for you. This station was inspired by London King's Cross, the station in London near St. Pancras International. King's Cross was the starting station of the London to York to Edinburgh route, which the world's most famous steam locomotive, Flying Scotsman, managed to complete non-stop, to make the journey only 8 hours. It was on one of these runs that the locomotive officially hit 100 miles per hour. Decades later, in 2018, 60163 Tornado ran a tour starting at London King's Cross called the Ebor Flyer, which was to be the first passenger-hauled steam excursion to run at 90 miles per hour. Apart from 4464 Bittern, who had temporary permission to do special 90 mile per hour runs to celebrate Mallard's 126 mile per hour record. After Tornado hit 101.6 miles per hour on a loaded test run the year before. Whilst the locomotive failed near Sandy, it still managed to hit 90 miles an hour before failing, which meant it still became the first steam engine to run a passenger service at 90 miles per hour since the steam age. And now we will run down to those colored buildings in the distance where we will see a familiar thing. And before we forget, here's a look at the exterior of the station, which you can see is indeed heavily inspired by London's King's Cross Station. And it looks really nice here. Okay, now on to the rest of the journey. So while we're making our run down there, the interesting thing is that the reason why we are making these videos is we are remaking our videos that we made 4 years ago. If anybody who is a longtime subscriber to Good Michael 5's channel may remember that we made those videos on Grand Continental Railways back 4 years ago. And those videos were, shall we say, not as good as what we do now, as what we can do now. So, yeah. So, again, like I said, I love being able to play this game again. I came across the Legacy Edition actually in April, in April of this year. The game actually came out in January of this year, but I came across it in April because I had no idea this even existed. But once I learned about it and I found out about it, I was like, well, I know exactly what to do. And so that's where our video of taking a trip down memory lane video came started. That was the first official video we made on this Legacy Edition. Now, of course, as you can clearly see, coming up is, for some reason, these buildings have a roadway that doesn't really even go anywhere, but in front of us is our accomplishment. And the sign here says, if you are reading this, congratulations. You are now exactly 43,000 studs away from Gothlin. And so just to prove that we are indeed at the right spot, let us teleport to Gothlin and we will show you the same sign from the opposite side. And right here is the sign that many players were surprised by. If you are reading this, you are now exactly 43,000 studs away from Ellistor Central, which is really neat. And with that out of the way, this has been the Class 456 video. I am Train Lover 123 #TrainsRock, doing the driving and tour for Good Michael 5's channel. We will see you guys in the next video, which will hopefully be the Class 175 video, if it doesn't cause me any problems. See you guys in the next video.